there, welcome back to Flipped Psychology. I'm Miss Lee, and in today's video we're going to continue in Unit 2, Biopsychology domain, and we'll cover Section 4, Nature versus Nurture. So if you haven't done so already, go ahead and grab your notes and let's get started. The objectives for today are very straightforward. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to describe the basic interactive effects of heredity and environment, and you should be able to describe and discuss the role of genetics in human behavior. So let's first talk about the role of chromosomes and genes in heredity, because these are the building blocks of heredity. Genes are the basic building blocks of heredity, and traits are determined by pairs of genes. So it's basically coming from the sperm and the egg and the genetic makeup of those two cells. Most normal human cells contain 46 chromosomes, which develop particular traits in an individual. So it's, again, the combination of those chromosomes that's going to determine whether you have certain characteristics, not just based on what you look like, but also how you behave and your disposition. And the 23rd pair of chromosomes determines the gender. What I want you to do is start thinking about the interaction of the genetic material and the environment, kind of like a light switch. Our genes, our genetic makeup, is what's going to give us a light switch for certain things like certain diseases or conditions, and our environment is what's going to switch that light on. For example, you may have a genetic predisposition for Alzheimer's disease, and that's in your genetic code. It's going to be passed down from the parent to the child. However, we are now finding out that there are tremendous environmental influences on whether that light switch gets turned on or not. In our last video, we talked about advances in finding out what kind of diet impacts Alzheimer's disease, what kind of lifestyle changes or lifestyles in general will contribute to Alzheimer's disease or not. So it really is a combination of both the genetic makeup as well as the environment that's going to determine so many of our physiological and psychological disorders. The way that we really have always and probably will continue to study the role of heredity and behavior is through studies like twin studies. This is a useful way to learn about nature and nurture. So you have twins in the same home, and you can look at their differences, and pretty much, since we know that twins, and I'm talking about identical twins, these are twins that have the exact same genetic makeup. Unless there has been something tremendously wrong in the development very, very early on that has kind of made the genetic code change, usually twins are genetically identical. And so any difference in their appearance or in their behavior, you can pretty much safely say is due to the environmental factors, things that they are choosing in their environment. And it can be all the way from their diet to where they live to whether they smoke cigarettes or not. So all of these are environmental factors that can very drastically change appearance and behavior in a person, even with the exact same genetic makeup. We also look at adoptee studies, and this is how we look at parents who are raising children who are not genetically similar to them may start showing similarities both in appearance and behavior. And you can say that that is also due to the environment, because since there's no genetic material in common, those similarities are going to be strictly based on the environment. So what we're learning, what we're eating, where we live, our communities, those are influences that are environmental in nature and not based on genetic makeup. And then last but not least, and this is really becoming less and less common simply because of our code of ethics here in the United States and elsewhere, twins reared apart. So this is a way of finding out that twins reared apart can actually share many of the same mannerisms despite their separation. So choices in profession, choices in spouse, even down to whether they drive a minivan or not. There have been a lot of anecdotal stories about twins who didn't even know that they had a twin, really having very similar lifestyle choices that we almost have to kind of consider, is this something genetic? Because they didn't have any rearing that was similar. They didn't get raised in the same way or in the same household. So we have to consider, is this genetic? And that is it. This is a very short video, but I want you to know that this is a very controversial topic, nature versus nurture. And it's going to continue to be a topic that we bring up throughout the course. It is one of the biggest controversies in psychology and possibly ever, just putting that out there. So once you finish this video, you should be able to talk about the interactive effects of heredity and the environment. And you should also be able to describe the role of genetics in human behavior, as well as how we study that. In our next video, we will be covering section 5. This is going to be an introduction into a different area of the biopsychology domain, sensation and perception. I can't wait to see you then. Bye for now.